Pre, good na, nagre-record.
Record na?
Pre, nagre-record na, pre.
Win.
Okay, so good morning class.
Sir.
Morning, sir.
So again, good morning class.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Okay, so how's your day today class?
Very good, sir.
Maganda bang ating gising?
We're fine,
I
sir.
felt sleepy.
Okay, so before we start, let us pray first. So Mr. Fernandez, can you please lead the prayer?
Okay, let's bow our head and feel the presence of the Lord. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
Amen. So
Amen.
thank you, Mr. Fernandez. So I remember that I gave an assignment last time. So did you all pass it in on our teams?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
We
Okay,
already
so
passed it.
okay, cool. So before we start, I have some reminders for you for our virtual class for today. So first reminder, be on time. If our class starts at 9 a.m., on or before 9 a.m., you must be on our meeting. So the second reminder, wear appropriate clothes. So wear appropriate clothes. So you can wear anything you like. So a simple t-shirt may do. So next is the keep your microphone on mute. So when I did not call your name, please keep on mute your microphone. But if you will recite, click the raise hand button and unmute your microphone. So the fourth one is be responsible for using the chat box. So use only the chat box only with the class related matters only. If you have a questions, concerns, or comments. So you can use our chat box. So the last is be fully present. So once you enter the meeting, set aside all the your social media accounts and don't use it. So are you clear with that class?
Yes, sir. Clear.
Okay, so now who among you can recall our previous topic? So, yes, Mr. Malikdam, what is our previous topic all about?
So our previous topic, sir, is all about maintaining of tools, sir, or maintenance of a tool.
So, our previous topic is all about the maintenance of our tools. So, the proper maintenance of our tools to prolong or umaba ang buhay ng ating mga tools is to clean them regularly and store them in a cabinet or in a toolbox. So, are we are we clear with the previous lesson?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
so you are now familiar with the proper maintenance of electrical tools and equipment. So before we move on to our new topic for today, let us have an activity first. So our activity for today is entitled Ayusin Natin To, Baby. Yes. So for the instruction of today's activity, kindly please read the instruction, Mr. Ferrer.
Instruction. The teacher will randomly call a student and will arrange the jumbled letters beside each picture. Every student have 10 seconds to answer.
So, are we clear with the very simple instruction for our activity class?
Yes, sir. Clean, sir, and clear.
Okay, so are you ready for our activity?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so
Sir.
ayusin natin to, baby. So, For the first picture, yes, Mr. De La Cruz, what
Sir,
is your answer?
hazard, sir.
So the answer is hazard. So very good, Mr. De La Cruz. The next one, for the second picture, yes, Mr. Ferrer, what is your answer? Yes, Mr. Ferrer,
Fire, sir.
fire. Okay, very good, Mr. Ferrer. Wait, next, for the next picture, yes, Miss Gonzalez, what is your answer?
Sure.
Sir.
Sir.
Yes,
Ah,
Miss Gonzalez.
sure.
Okay, so
Extension cord,
Sir.
sir.
okay, so extension cord. Okay, very good, Miss Gonzalez. So the answer is extension cord. Next, for the next picture, yes, Mr. Tirao,
Light bulb, sir.
light bulb. Okay, very good, Mr. Tirao. Thank you. Next, for the last picture, yes, Miss Rocaberte, what is your answer? Yes, Mr. Rocaberte.
Sir.
I think Mr. Caberte is
So
not
I
around.
think she is
Is not around, sir.
okay, so Mr. Malikdam, what is your answer?
Sir, electrical, sir.
Electrical. So okay, so very good, Mr. Malikdam. So thank you for your cooperation class. Did you enjoy the activity?
Yes, sir. We enjoy
Yes,
it.
sir.
Okay, so
Sir.
all the students who got the correct answer will have a plus points in their quiz later on. So now, what you have noticed in the answers given in our activity? Um, okay, Mr. Malikdam.
Sir, sir, I think it's all about electrical hazard, sir.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Malikdam. So the answers given are related to our new topic for today, which is electrical hazards in the workplace. So before we go deeper to our topic, let us define first what is electrical hazards. So can you please read, Mr. Aquino? Sorry.
So, electrical hazard. An electrical hazard can be defined as a serious workplace hazard that exposes workers to burn, electrocution, shock, arc blast, fire, or explosions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Aquino. So hazards are the potential source of a harm or adverse health effect on a person. So electrical hazards are hazards that can affect the health of an electrician in the workplace. So they will be exposed with electrical shock if the cords of equipment are broken, and they will be exposed with um, burns if there are wires were burning due to overload of outlets and other electrical hazards like fire and explosion. So next that we will be tackling is the common electrical hazards in the workplace. I'm sorry. So for the first one, yes, Mr. Miranda, kindly please read the first common electrical hazards in the workplace.
Yes, poor wiring and defective electric wires. Good quality wiring that conforms to safety standards is vital for safety. Poor wiring can increase chance of fire, power surges, arc faults, and other serious consequences.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Miranda. So Uh, excuse me. So thank you, Mr. Miranda. So the first one is poor wiring and defective defective electric wire. So poor wiring and defective electric wires can cause fire and also electric shock if it accidentally touches by a person. So before doing or making a circuit, make sure to check the wires if it has defects. Then if do not use it because it can conforms our safety and can create accident. So are you clear with that, class?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay, so
sir.
thank you for the response. So next, for the next one, yes, Mr. De La Cruz, can you please read?
Wet hands. Similarly, electrical appliances should never be handled with wet hand, and this heightens the chance of getting an electrical shock.
Okay, so thank you, Mr. De La Cruz. So wet hands. This is usually happens not only in the workplace but also in our house. Am I right, class?
Yes, sir. Definitely, sir.
Okay, so some of us are making it as a habit. So they use appliances when their hands are wet. They remove the mail socket into the outlet or the saksakan in Tagalog, even when their hands are wet. So always remember, class, that do not make it as an habit because it can harm you. So when you use an equipment or even a appliances in our home, wipe your hands first with dry cloth before touching or using it. So remember, always remember that a water is a good conductor of electricity. So be aware of that, class. Are we
Yes,
clear
sir.
with that?
Yes, sir. Thank you,
Okay,
sir.
so thank you
Yes,
for
sir.
Yes, sir.
okay, so third one. Yes, Miss Leo, can you please read?
Overload extension cord. Don't use extension cords as a permanent substitute for additional power sockets and avoid using them for too many equipment at once.
Okay, so thank you, Miss Leo. So the third electrical hazards are overload extension cord. So in the workplace, electricians. So for the example, electricians have different equipment they use to make their work easily and to be done early. So because of that, some electricians only use one extension. So the reason it is more work or dagdag trabaho pagka napakarami pang extension na gagamitin. So they plug into many equipment in one extension cord. So ganoon din sa ating mga tahanan. We only use one extension cord in many appliances. So when you are example, so when you are in industry, never make this as an habit. So because it may cause overloading, and this will make um a fire in the workplace. So never overload the extension cord. So just make use of other extension cord for our safety and the also the safety of our equipment. So next is the light bulbs. For the last common electrical hazards in the workplace, can you please read, Mr. Ferrer?
Light bulbs. We don't often think of light bulbs as being electrical hazards, but the potential for an electrical fire arises when light bulbs are kept near flammable materials. This can include beds, drapes, plastics, or other items such as upholstery.
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Ferrer. So the last one is the light bulb. So we usually think that light bulbs can cause harm on us. but it can also cause fire and electric shock. So fire will start if the lamp or valve, excuse me, or bulb overheats due to the long time that it is switched on, and it is near with the flammable materials like in the bed sheets, curtains, and other flammable materials in our home. So and also in our workplace. Then bulb can also cause electrical shock if someone is trying to change or check, or yung mga syempre sa ating mga tahanan, some of us are we are changing the lights if it is pundido na. So some are changing or checking the bulb with their wet hands. So never make your light near with the also never make your light near with the flammable materials, and never um, touch the bulb or lamp with your hands are wet. So next is the preventing electrical hazards. So we tackle the common electrical hazards in the workplace. Now we will be discussing the preventing on how to prevent the electrical hazards. So these are the things that we need to remember so that we keep ourselves safe in the person around us. So for the first preventing electrical hazards, kindly please read Mr. Fernandez.
I think, sir, Mr. Fernandez is experiencing loss of connection, sir. So let me read it for you, sir.
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Malikdam. So kindly please read.
So power cord should be of high quality. Power cord which is being considered to utilize must be of some renowned brand, should be a high quality.
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Fernandez. So the Mr. Malikdam rather. So the first one is power power cord should be of high quality. So when buying equipment and extension cords, you must look first if it has a safety seal. Then look for any damage if ever. So also make sure that the material they use in cords are high quality too. So never buy a substandard because the materials they use are also substandards or local. So it will broke easily, and sometimes it is easy to peel or madali siyang mabalatan yung kanyang insulation or yung balat ng cords, and this will cause harm to the user of the equipment if they accidentally touch it. So always remember that buy the high quality for your own sake, of course, for your safety. So next, the next one, please read Mr. Tirao.
Avoid overloading in outlets. Usually, you may have seen in your workplace where high voltage equipment are plugged into one outlet. So it is suggested to avoid too much overloading.
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Tirao. So avoid overloading the outlets. So when some equipment or even appliances are unused, you must unplug them so that it will lessen the plug-ins in the extension cords and outlets. So by doing this, the percentage of having a fire because of overloading will also be lessened. So then it also lower the power consumption of your workplace. So are we clear with that, class?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so thank you. So the third one, Miss Rocaberte, can you please read? Miss Rocaberte, are you here?
I think, sir, Mr. Caberte is
Okay, so
having also bad connection, sir. So
he's
let me
having
retry
a
you.
bad connection. So Mr. Aquino, kindly please read the number three.
Number three, inspect electrical cords. It's better to keep an eye on electrical wires. They shouldn't be cracked or damaged, so check electrical cords once in a month.
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Aquino. So inspect electrical cords. So before using the electrical equipment on our task or work, we must check first the cords if there are uninsulated parts or mga parte ng cords na nabalatan. So if this happens, just use a electrical tape to properly insulate it and make sure that you wear the proper personal protective equipment like gloves before doing it. So also make sure that your hands are dry and the equipment is unplugged to avoid electrical shock. So in checking electrical cords, you must do it once in a month, but for me it is better to check it always before using the specific equipment. So next, licensed electricians. Yes, Mr. Malikdem, can you please read the licensed electricians?
For licensed electrician, sir, you need to hire licensed electricians who should have proper information and qualification before playing with wires.
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Malikdem. So the number four is the licensed electrician. So when there are work related to electrical and you don't have the right knowledge on it, you can be exposed with the electrical shocks. So it is better to hire a more knowledgeable on it or a licensed um, electricians to do the work. So next, number five, avoid using electrical equipment with wet hands. So Miss Lopez, are you here? Okay, so maybe she is having a bad connection too. So Miss Gonzalez, kindly please read the number five. Okay, so she is having a bad connection too. So Mr. Ferrer, kindly please read.
Number 5, avoid using electrical equipment with wet hands. Before using any electrical equipment, make sure to dry off or wipe with clean and dry cloth your hand first.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ferrer. So as I said earlier, avoid using electrical equipment or appliances appliances with wet hands. So um, always remember that water is a good conductor of electricity. So when you use the equipment or appliances with your hands are wet, you will be exposed with the electrical shock or yung mag-ground kayo or makukuryente. So when using equipment and your hands are wet, you must dry it first. So wipe it with a dry cloth before touching your equipment. So are we clear with the preventing electrical hazards class?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
so thank you for the response. So now we will be having an activity. So we're, for the instruction, um, Mr. Miranda, can you please read the instruction?
Instructions. The teacher will present pictures via PowerPoint presentation. After that, the students will explain what they can see on the picture and they will identify the preventive measure to be done.
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Miranda. So I will be showing some pictures and you will explain what you can see on the presentation after that, you will identify what the preventive measure to be done in the picture presented. So are we clear with that, class?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so for the first picture, Mr. Malikdam, what have you noticed in the picture?
Uh, the extension cursor is uh, having a uninsulated power cord, sir.
Okay, so what preventive measure to be done?
You should not use it, sir. You should apply electrical tape, sir, or do not use it with wet hands, sir, because it will cause electric shock or electrical fault, sir.
Okay, so very good, Mr. Malikdam. So when you see a electrical cord that is uninsulated, you must um, insulate it with a electrical tape. So, but before doing that, of course, wear proper PPE or personal protective equipment. Then do it. So next picture. Um, okay, Mr. De La Cruz, what have you noticed with the picture presented? Picture presented.
Sir, I observed that this picture is extension with overload, sir.
Okay, so what preventive measure to be done?
Sir, imbis na gumamit tayo ng isang extension cord sa ating saksakan, ay pinagsasaksakan, sir, we can use another extension para hindi to mag-produce ng fire, sir. And we can prevent ay accident, sir.
Okay, so very good, Mr. De La Cruz. So um, when you see a electrical extension cord, you must not overload it because it can cause fire and can damage everything surrounding it. So thank you for your answers, Mr. Malikdam and Mr. De La Cruz. So is there any clarification
None
or
so far,
question?
sir.
None, sir.
None, sir.
Okay, so if none, then I will be the one to ask you a question. So for the first question, can you please read this and answer Mr. Fernandez?
Sir, Mr. Fernandez is not around, sir. He's
Okay.
having bad connection, sir.
Okay, so Mr. or Miss Gonzalez, sorry. Can you please read and answer?
Why do we need to study electrical hazards? So I think we need to study electrical hazards for us to be knowledgeable about the do's and the don'ts of the electrical components.
Okay, so very good, Miss Gonzalez. So the next question. How important is electrical preventive measurement? So what's your answer, Mr. Malikdem?
So, how important is electrical preventive measure, sir? So, is it important, sir? Because the life is only one, sir. We must apply every preventive measure for us to be safe always, sir, and continue doing works with a good and safe one, sir.
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Malikdem. So are we clear now with our topic for today,
Yes,
class?
sir.
Yes,
Okay, so I hope you understand the topic. So now we will be having a quiz. So your quiz will be posted via Google Forms at exactly 9:45 a.m. and it will close at exactly 10 a.m. So read the instructions carefully and answer it with your own knowledge. So no cheating. Are we clear with that, class?
yes, sir. Clear.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So
Yes, sir.
it's already 9:45 a.m. So you can now start the quiz.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So, are we all done, class?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay, so I will be checking your quiz later on. So, now for your assignment, search on the following. So, number one, what is personal protective equipment? Then, number two, list down personal protective equipment in electrical. So, are we clear with that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So, before you leave, I will download first your attendance. So, wait for a while. Okay, so thank you for listening. You can now leave the meeting and goodbye and thank you, class.
Bye,
Goodbye and
sir.
thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, sir. Goodbye,
Goodbye,
sir.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you
Bye,
again.
sir. Thank you po.
Thank you and goodbye,
Goodbye,
sir.
sir.
Bye, sir. Thank you
May now
po.
leave.
Thank you and goodbye,
Goodbye,
sir.
sir.
Thank you, sir. Goodbye po.
Thank you